How did you get your start as an actor?
I really got my start doing basketball commercials at the beginning of my career. So I was doing like Jordan brand commercials, Nike commercials, Adidas, anything like that. A man by the name of Paul Hunter, who is a pretty big director. I mean, he did like Michael Jackson, Rock My World video, D'Angelo, How's It Feel video, like those type of stuff. He was doing, when Chris Paul first came to the Clippers, he was doing a Jordan brand commercial for Chris Paul. And that was my first thing I ever did. Like, it was at Paramount Studios, 3 days, like a lot of stuff going on, and the commercial was wild, like horses and fire and all that. I was like, what the, it felt like a big set. So that was my first introduction to it. And then I did a commercial with Carmelo Anthony for Foot Locker. And it was like me and him speaking. It wasn't no basketball stuff, it was just speaking stuff. Like Foot Locker does a lot of funny commercials, so it was like funny. And that was my first taste of kind of, dialogue, this and that, and then from there, it just kind of kept rolling.
Okay. And how did you transition from, I guess, commercials to television and film?
So there was a man named Mike Fisher. He's still around. He does a lot of the casting and sports coordination for movies and commercials that have to do with sports or have sports in it. And he was casting for a movie called The Gambler that was starring Mark Wahlberg, John Goodwin, Brie Larson, good actors in it. And I wanted the main role of the college hooper. He is a part of like Shaving Points or something like that, you know what I mean? And I was still playing overseas when they were auditioning that role. So by the time I came back, I could only get the other players, or like we had a couple lines here and there that didn't make the movie and stuff, but it was my first movie experience. So I went out for that and I got that, and I just kind of made it seem like my role was more important than it was when I was trying to get an agent and manager. So it worked though. So
fake it till you make it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a good transition into games people play. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the show and your character, Marcus King.
So the show just dives into like the high life of, not necessarily LA, but yeah, LA is very similar to like, what would be happening in New York or something like that. Dives into the highlights of athletics, journalism. Parker McKenna Posey portrays the role of Layla James, and she's like this struggling actress who kind of starts picking up steam on social media, so that kind of ties in a certain way, makes it very modern. It's like very today. Okay. And Marcus King is a character I portray, and he's a professional basketball player, high level, like, high paid, high level basketball player, an all-star. And he wasn't always, there's a lot of guys like that I've met where he wasn't always this guy. He wasn't that guy the whole time. So when he becomes that and gets into the league, it just launches him into, because of his skill, just launches him into this social status that he wasn't necessarily prepared for. So he's a complicated guy who makes mistakes. He's married, he does some damage to his relationship. Okay. I think, just what comes with that, he just wasn't prepared for it, a bit immature, and has some maturing to do. Okay. And he is a loving father, though. He's a family guy. Like, family is important to him. He's just immature in some aspects, yeah.
Okay, I got you. How is this stepping into a leading role on this show? Is it much different? Is it just more lines and pretty much the same? Like, how is it leading a show, leading a cast?
So it depends how you approach it. So when you're leading the show, I do believe that the lead set the tone. I wanted being the leading man, because Lauren's gonna set the tone. She is who she is, and we know that right away. Boom, you know what I mean? And being a leading man, I wanted to set the tone in a way where I was involved and I had a say in things, and creatively, and it was a great partnership. Like, that we had some, they would listen, I casted some people that I knew for certain roles that gave opportunities, especially some of the basketball guys. And I wanted, it's way more work, you know what I mean? It's different being a recurring role, because you come in like, I'm just working one day this week.
Right.
It's not gonna happen when you're a lead, you know what I mean? And your hours are longer, because you could be a recurring role, work 2 days in a week, but like one of the days you just have that one scene. And that happens sometimes with, you know, being on this show, depending on what storyline they're working on, but majority of the time you're there for a while. You know, some days I have every scene from top to bottom, and being a recurring on 2 different shows before this, like doing Insecure, being a recurring role on that, and Good Trouble, being a recurring role on that, really helped me to prepare to be a leading man. Because I was talking to Cinco Wells about this, the lead of American Soul, right? And he had a big recurring role on Power, right? And he's had other wins too. And we were talking about, you know, when we want, I'm like, man, I just need an opportunity, man. You're trying to get on, you want to lead a role. And I'm talking about years ago. Like I'm 29 now, but I was wanting this, you know, I'm doing my commercials. I was 21, 22 when I was starting out, whatever. And like at 22, 23, I was really wanting those opportunities. I wouldn't have been ready. You know what I mean? And me and him were talking about like, I would not have been ready, and then getting a recurring role where it was big enough to be a part of the storyline, and see that real work, but then work hand in hand with leads and seeing the work that has to be put into that was exactly what I needed. And it prepared me to be a leading man. And that was, yeah, those were blessings, because I just was prepared to come in and do a lot of work and try to lead a cast, you know, where, you know, anybody can feel comfortable to like talk ideas with me. If they're frustrated, even talk to me, whatever, just kind of like get things out and stuff. But yeah, it was a good experience. It was a necessary experience. I liked it, yeah.
How was it working opposite of Lauren London?
Man, this is one thing I'm gonna say about Book. Lauren is that she is one of the realest ones I've ever met, and probably one of the realest castmate or co-star I've ever worked with. You know, just because she's how she feels. She's protective. She's a mother. She has such a motherly nature about her. You can see that. And she is she was such a light, and I just was reminded, and I try to tell people, I'm like, just like, you could be authentic in this business. Like some people, you know, but because the way she is, like, you can see the respect that's just given to her. Like, people are like, oh, I need to respect her right away, you know, just because the way she carries herself, the way she speaks, or the way she handles certain situations, you know. Yeah, and she helped me a lot and gave me a lot of like tips on certain things, put me on game about stuff. And then we were just able to talk to each other, and we had like great conversations this whole time. But yeah, she was, I was really happy to be on this journey with her, really happy to be on this journey with her.